Consider recommended resolution 21-R2904 adopting the 2021 street maintenance program.
Right. Thank you, sir. The item before you tonight is our 2021 street projects. 2 weeks ago, I was back in front of this committee discussing options for West Wisconsin Avenue. At that time, the direction was given that the work would be done and it would be done in concrete. So the recommendation before you tonight does include that in there, in addition to the base bid, which had miscellaneous street projects, some of the larger ones being Collins, West Wisconsin, those two streets. But Juneau and Anderson have some significant water main work going on in them. But so we have, the base bid, and then we had 3 alternates, one being Elizabeth Street. So Elizabeth Street was cut out of last year's project. You may recall we did all the work over at 4th Street, did significant storm sewer work through there. So we're looking to just get that project completed versus having this one block get pushed off and end up not getting done. The Wisconsin Avenue alternate, and then Juneau and Anderson, we put in an alternate to do some additional curb work when those streets are done. Our recommendation is a low bid from Lalonde Contractors. They're out of Waukesha. They did a project in the city probably back sometime in 1991. Something like that. It had to do with the Target Distribution Center at that time, but they have not done work here since. I should back up a little bit. The work on Wisconsin Avenue, there was questions raised as to when that work could take place. Met with the contractor last week, and we're going to look to push that for end of March, early April start time. It's a 2-month project, so we can get that done. I also measured up the area that the park on Black Labelle condo owner, the developer there, would be responsible for, and that came to $12,700. I have provided that information to John Spears so that he's aware of that. So Alderman Rogers isn't here because one of the questions he had asked was some places where the asphalt comes up to concrete by the roundabout, that asphalt over time is humped up, so we are addressing all of those throughout the city as part of this project also. And the short section on Greenland, just so that Karen can't get home at night. So.
Question I have is on Collins Street, that sidewalk, you're referring to the sidewalk.
On Collins? Yes, we will be replacing that. There'll be a complete reconstruct. There'll be new sidewalk in and it'll match into the parking lot.
Is it going to be at that same level, or is it going to be?
It'll be brought up.
Any questions? Yeah, Matt.
Mark, thanks for working on one. Just what I want that in spring. That's great. I think it's better to wait until summer when all the boat traffic is coming through. And when things really get busy there.
This does not. Are we still? We're still doing Packer Trail this year, right?
Correct. That's a separate project.
That was separate.
We borrowed all the money for that project. Just real quickly, the ad goes out Thursday to start that process. We should be back second meeting in February with that.
No, that's going to be a busy year for you.
Yeah. They're all busy. They're all busy.
We're happy with Lalonde contractors.
I've reached out to a couple contractors because I've seen their name. They've bid on projects before. I had not worked with them, but other contractors I spoke to spoke highly of them. So yes.
You're comfortable with them. They're pretty close to Wolf as well and all around this area.
Correct.
Where's Lalonde from?
Waukesha.
Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
And then also, just for everybody's knowledge, when this goes to council, we are 97,000 over, and this is based on calculations of the budget, with adding in the concrete work versus the asphalt on West Wisconsin. We currently have undesignated general fund reserves of $4.5 million. We're recommending that we use $97,000 out of that, but because we're looking to use the general reserves, it'll take at least 6 votes to approve that.
Just a general question. We always have the contingency in there. How often
end up tapping into that or bumping up near the ceiling there, or is that generally not needed? Is there
No, I'd say we're well into it every year.
10%.
Yes,
that's always needed?
yes.
Is there anything that could come off the list and not have to tap into that? There was something you didn't want to hit the reserve fund, or something you take off?
Concrete in West Wisconsin? No, I'm kidding. You know, every street in here is needed. You know, I can make a case. All the streets that we're looking are rated a 2 on a scale of 1 to 10, with 1 almost being gravel, 10 being new. So they're all there. We struggle every year. You know, if you guys looked at me and said, hey, we don't want to use reserves, pull a project, you know, we would, you know, because, you know, it is ultimately your decision, but I can make a strong recommendation for everything on here. You know, we are talking, you know, $1.3 million and, you know, 100,000 out of the $4.5 million reserve, I didn't think was a big ask. You know, and considering that it's really, you know, kind of driven by, you know, the change on West Wisconsin. So.
Any other questions?
I'll move to recommend resolution 21R2904 adopting 2021.
Second.
All for?
Aye.
Against? Motion passes.
Thank you.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
For? Against?
Aye.
Done.
Just for the audience, so you know, we're moving towards an electronic format to take notes in minutes for all these meetings. So there's going to be a slight delay between each committee meeting and then on to council as the program is repopulated for the next committee meeting. So we'll start shortly.
Call the meeting to order of the Finance Committee for Tuesday, January 19, 2021, and ask the clerk for review notification.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, it has.
Item to consider in finance tonight, which is consider act on vouchers. Item 2A1. Kevin, I think you have the voucher number.
Yes, it is 2,600,000,000. Wait, I'm sorry. $2,699,100.47.
I'll second your motion to approve the vouchers, but before we go to vote on that, I do have 2 real minor questions for you.
Okay.
I was going to call you before, but I just didn't have time today. Okay.
That's okay.
On page 8, well, page 8 of this, but it's page 7 of the vouchers.
Okay.
I'm looking at this one. It says wheat contract. Kind of towards the middle. Table number 121820. What the heck is that for? Is that for something with our watershed program or something?
I'm sorry, what is it called? I can't find it yet.
Wheat contract. Like wheat as in like wheat.
Who's the vendor?
This says invoice Matthew Turkowski.
Oh, okay.
I don't know if that's a farmer. I'm curious.
Yeah, so if you'll see several payments in there this time. And this year they were labeled incentive payments or rent or wheat payments, and they're all related to the watershed.
That's what I figured.
So next year we will, and I talked to Karen about this and Matt, next year we'll make sure that it says watershed on there so you know what it's for.
Then on page 11 of 14, which is several payments being made, but doesn't say anything what it's for. So I'm just, is that for some program we're working with them on, or is that something else? There's 3 rather in a row.
Yeah, so United Way payments are actually come from employees and we pay it into
Okay.
United Way. So if they take a deduction on their payroll for United Way.
Karen, or any other questions?
No, I had some of the same questions as you with those incentive payments. And then finding out that all of those relate to the Oconomowoc watershed protection program. And she's gonna, like she said, she's gonna rename that account so that that's just a little bit more clear next time those come through.
I figured that's what it was, that we weren't buying wheat.
Yeah, no.
I'm guessing it's a payment so they don't.
Yeah.
And there's a whole bunch of them.
Yep.
But they're annual payments, so yeah, they all come out at the same time. So yeah, I apologize for that. We will make sure we label that better next year so you understand what it is. Go ahead.
No, I'm good, yeah. I'd like to make a recommendation that we accept $2,699,108.47.
And I can second that motion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I have just one thing quickly before you adjourn. I just wanted to make a quick reminder to everyone that it is the January meeting. So when you look at the council agenda, you won't see a treasurer's report or any of the reports in there. They'll be doubled up for next month. So end of the year, we're trying to get all the stuff that comes in January put back into December get all the accruals done before we give you the financials. And I just wanted to remind you that we do that every year.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you, guys.
The common council meeting will start promptly at 7:30. comment, there are blue cards in the back. If you could please fill them out and hand them to our city administrator, Mr. Chabotowski. Matt, would you raise your hand? Great. I have one so far, but we can accept more. And we will also, since we're also in a virtual mode, try to receive comments from the public that are going into this meeting on a virtual platform. I'd like to call to order the City of Oconomowoc Common Council meeting for Tuesday, January 19th, 2021. Has appropriate meeting notification been made?
Yes, Your Honor, it has.
Thank you very much. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Welcome everyone in the audience. Call roll, please.
Alderman Boulder.
Here.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Here.
Alderman Kavieski.
Here.
Alderman Rogers. Alderman Rozak.
Here.
Alderman Zappel.
Here.
Alderman Ellis.
Here.
Alderman Steelberg.
Here. Let's move on for a motion to approve the minutes dated December 16th, 2020.
So moved. Second.
Sorry, missed who said that? Motion was made by Alderman Zappel, second by Alderman Ellis. All in favor?
Aye.
Just also a heads up, we're having a hard time hearing, so we really all need to speak closely into our microphones. You'll also find something new as I will be repeating who makes the motion and who does the second, because we've been having some problems documenting that. It's a little hard for our clerk to be able to hear back there, so we're trying to improve it, but a little different change just so we can kind of slow the process down so everybody knows what's going on. So at this point, I'd like to ask for comments and suggestions from our citizens. This is the time of the meeting where our community has the opportunity to share their thoughts about things going on in the community. Unfortunately, it's not a two-way dialogue. It's for you to share your opinions. We try to give you 3 minutes or so, and then we'll start with those folks that are here in the audience, and then move on to the virtual platform if anyone is on board there. So I'd like to call Mr. Bob Perkins. If you could please state your name and your address and what's on your mind, sir. I'd love to hear it.
Thank you. My name is Bob Perkins. My address is 618 East Wilson Street here in the city. And I'm here tonight to encourage you to pay a little bit of attention to the proposed tunnel on the Lake Country Trail under Highway 67. That has been hanging fire for several years now. And it is, the way things are now, it's a blockage to many people's enjoyment of the trail. It is very difficult sometimes to move across Highway 67 at the crosswalk there, even with the traffic lights and everything. And many people are so intimidated by it that they simply use only the part of the trail that's on whatever side of the area they happen to live on. There's an awful lot of traffic out there. I'm retired. I'm out there on the trail during the day, during the week, and I am never alone. There's a huge number of people using that trail for various purposes. And having that tunnel would greatly increase, even then, the distance that people could go and the fun they could have out on that trail. The other thing that really brought me here more than anything else tonight is that with the proposed development that's going to be going on in the old Olympia area, which closely adjoins where the trail is, we're going to have even more demand and more usage, more traffic on that trail. So if some way or other could be devised to get together and get that tunnel installed, I think it would be a tremendous asset to the quality of life here in the Oconomowoc area. And I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much for your comment. I think as you look around at the council, you have a lot of people shaking their heads up and down. And I'll have somebody reach out to you to give you an update, because I think that is an important topic. So thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Do we have any further comments from anyone in the audience? I don't have any blue cards with me. Then I'm going to ask Ms. Sullivan to come up, and I'd like to ask the audience on our virtual platform, on the WebEx platform, if you have any questions that you would like to bring to council today.
Mayor, I don't have any public connected to the meeting tonight.
Okay, no one's connected?
Right.
Okay, and so for that reason, then we'll move on to the next agenda item. Thank you very much. Let's move on to consent agenda items A through C. I'd like to entertain a motion for those agenda items.
I move.
Second. One moment, Alderman Kobielski.
I know it's a housekeeping item, but I'd like, item B moved from the consent just to, bring to the public why that, what's going on with that and other impacts.
Why don't we just go ahead and have a discussion first, and then we can come back and make a motion since no motion's made. Sure. Our clerk will take the lead on that.
So the resolution before you is a resolution that is required by statute, and we need to provide that information to the Waukesha County Clerk's Office. It combines wards, and what that means is when the city has an original 12 wards assigned to us, and when we annex properties, those properties must be given a new ward if there are any population within those parcels of land or parcel of land. Those annexed properties come from other communities. In this instance, the wards number 13 through 16 have come from the town of Oconomowoc. And the town of Oconomowoc has a different county supervisor than the city of Oconomowoc. So the town residents vote for a different county supervisor than the city residents. But until we do the redistricting, which is done every 10 years due to the census, we have to provide a mechanism for those individuals who were annexed in to be able to continue to vote for their officials because they are not yet recognized as being part of the city when it comes to those offices. So this is really a housekeeping item that allows us to get the correct ballot style for those wards so they can continue to vote for the county supervisor that represents them. And once we do the redistricting, which will be done sometime at the end of this year in the fall, then next year you will see that resolution come before you with our original 12 wards back. And that's how we will continue from that point forward.
Any further questions? I'd entertain a motion for all three consent agenda items. The motion was made by Alderman Mulder and second by Alderman Zappel. Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Moving on to committee reports, protection and welfare. We're going to consider an act on repealing and recreating Chapter 6 and renumbering the city municipal code regarding the emergency management and intermunicipal agreement. Does the council have questions on that or would like to have that reviewed? Alderman Kaviaski.
I'm clear on that. I'm supportive of that. I'd like to include waiving of second reading.
Would you like to make that as a motion, sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Rozek for second.
Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Spiegelberg, I think, had her hand up.
Oh, I missed it. I'm sorry, Karen.
Okay, I just want to say thanks to Alderman Rosick, because I know he had a big part in all of this too, and it turned out really well, so thank you.
Thanks, Ken.
Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kaviaski.
Aye.
Alderman Rosick.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
On the next item, consider act on resolution 21-R2904 approving the 2021 street maintenance program. We discussed that in committee ahead of time. Would you like to have that brought up or are you going to move forward on a motion?
I'll move to approve, this is Rozek, I'll move to approve the resolution 21R2904 approving the 2021 street maintenance program.
Ellis, second.
Ellis, second. Any further discussion? Alderman Rozak?
Yeah, just one comment. I know we need the supermajority for the vote because we're using some reserve funds. We've got a lot of reserve funds. I think this is a work worthwhile use. Also note that towards the end of our packet, we talk about Rosedown Creek. Unless I'm mistaken, it looks like we saved $106,000 on the Rosedown Creek project. So kudos to Craig and the Park and Rec Department for that, allowing more money to flow to Department of Public Works so that we can finish our streets. So I think it's a worthwhile thing to go down, so we should have a super majority for this one.
Any further comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Right, on to new business, and thank you, Alderman Rozak. It's nice that when you make the motion, you use your name. That's going to be a lot quicker and more efficient. So that's a nice way. Is that working, Diane?
That is, thank you very much.
Good. It's easier to hear too. Thank you. Consider act on approving Exhibit D, Design Standards Olympia Fields of Development. Dan or Mr. Duffy, you want to, I think this is something we should discuss, please.
Either one. At your last meeting, you had approved the overall tax incremental finance agreement, however, withheld Exhibit D, future consideration. After that meeting, we had consultation with Vanguard Partners, alderpersons who had interest in this topic, as well as Architectural Commission members, to enhance Exhibit D, provide additional details as it related to the built environment out in the Olympia Fields area, as well as other amenities that are to be placed out there. So we bring forth that additional detail as requested by the council for your consideration and ultimate approval.
And for the audience too, Alderman Rozak has recused himself just for this vote for potential conflict. Thank you, Alderman Rozak. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Duffy? Alderman Kavieski.
I would just like to thank you and staff for taking the time and working through this. I think the document is much better, more robust. It strikes a tone for partnership between the city and the developer, and sets expectations that I think are reasonable and achievable. And without this exhibit, I think any developer that would come in without an exhibit like this that doesn't have TIF money, we welcome them. But for $18 million of TIF, setting expectations above bar in the areas that we went through, I think is very appropriate, and I think that the public should know that is what this exhibit really pertains to, is those expectations and the development of that as a result of the TIF. So I appreciate it very much.
Well, and all I would say is really the kudos need to go to Christy Weber and the planning staff, as well as Wanberg, who was willing to, meet us all to come together to be able to put together a better document.
Alderman Ellis.
In the hope that we're having tonight.
Correct.
Any further discussion? Entertain a motion.
Second, Ellis.
Alderman Kavieski, a motion to approve.
Ellis, second.
Ellis, second. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Aye.
Move on to new business. Consider act on ordinance 21-0995, amending section 3.08 of the City of Oconomowoc Municipal Code regarding room tax. Mr. Duffy.
Sure, this is really, it's a process piece. We were unaware that there were business owners in our community that were struggling, trying to meet the 10th date, the date of the 10th for remitting of room tax to the city. It was brought to our attention earlier this year. In consultation with finance staff. It really doesn't impact our operation directly, and it gives the hoteliers an additional period of time that they were looking for. Will remit that room tax to the city. It's really a process change. I didn't put it in here But if the council's willing to waive the second reading, we could get this likely implemented for February.
I'll move to approve ordinance 210995 and then the statutes related, the ordinance related to the tax with the waiving second reading.
Second, Jeff.
Any further discussion? Alderman Rozak?
I think you did a really good job responding to business owner concerns here. That's the first thing I noted when I looked at this was great job. Somebody came forward and said, hey, this is really tough for us to meet the 10th. Most people don't get paid, so one way or the other, end of the month. So nice work. Thank you, Bob.
Thank you.
Alderman Spiegelberg?
My comment is almost kind of reverse of yours, but yes, we did respond really well to this. I was impressed that this person reached out, and I would encourage other business operators, citizens, whatever, to not be afraid to reach out to us because that's what we're here for.
Alderman Ellis?
Yeah, I too want to thank you for the sensitivity of this and the fact that I'm not here. We're taking action. I want small business owners out there to know that we're here for you. And we want to see you successful.
Any further comments? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
I,
The agenda is a new item. Consider act on approving the extension of the Class B liquor license for the Chili Fest event. Mr. Duffy, can you just give us, or excuse me, I'm sorry. Ms. Cronin, would you give us a little background, please?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. The city was approached by both the downtown Oconomowoc Business District and the owner of the AJ's Bar in the city. And the Chili Fest event is a special event permit event. And based on that, the Downtown Business Association as well as the AJ's have worked together to try and come up with a way to provide alcoholic beverages to the patrons of this event. And so what they're proposing is that AJ's extend their premises onto the village green, which is adjacent to their building, to their property, and they would have an ice bar, and that ice bar would be able to serve and sell to the patrons. This is the first time the city would be looking at allowing a private business to be partnered with a nonprofit. And so we're kind of looking at this as a trial basis. It goes hand in hand with our special use permit, and those are the things that are allowed with that special use permit. However, there in my memo, there are some things to consider. How often would we want to allow a private business onto public property for special events? And also, how would other businesses feel about it? So you may get feedback from them on this particular event. But the applicant, which is AJ's, does comply with all licensing requirements. It is allowed by law. It's allowed in our statute. So there is no reason it can't happen. It's more of a matter of how the council feels about a public-private partnership for this type of event on the Village Green.
Do you have any questions for Ms. Cronin? Alderman Kavieski?
I guess, not much of a question as a statement in regards to this. First off, to Downtown Oconomowoc Business District, thank you very much for moving this forward and the excitement that comes along with that, along with the activity in the downtown to help support our downtown businesses for this particular event. Having that public-private partnership that creates something unique, and having that private business in conjunction with this makes a lot of sense to me. It's not a standalone request, it's a joint request. So I think that also sets the tone for how we can address this opportunity in the future, the criteria associated with that. I'm all for it and 100% behind it.
And for council, we also have the executive director of the downtown business district in the audience there in Minden. So if you have a question directly towards her, she would be happy to come up to the podium as well. Alderman Ellis.
This is the first time we've done this.
First time we've had this type of request, yes.
This is really cool. I'm definitely for it.
Alderman Mulder.
Yeah, I have a question for you, Sarah. Assuming that the other restaurants and bars in the downtown area are aware of this and agree that it's a good test to move forward with, is anybody incentive against moving forward with something like this from your?
I think anytime we try something new, there's going to be good and bad feedback. So we're always willing to accept the good and take a look at the bad. So if we decide that this is something that has somebody bring something up that isn't working for them, I think it goes hand in hand with the beer garden. I think people in the beginning when we launched the beer garden were nervous that we may take away business from their establishment. And now we've proven over time that that's not the case. The establishments have now kind of said, welcome the beer garden. So I'm assuming the same thing's going to happen with the special event. It's not like we're doing this every Friday. So I think most people will be on, but we're willing to hear, you know, obviously the council's feedback as you all participate in my ice bar. There's 2 drink luges, just so y'all know. But we're willing to look at it. So I think testing it is fair. And we can move forward from there with getting the feedback. But most of it that I've heard is positive. I typically don't hear the bad until after.
Activity breeds activity, success breeds success.
Yeah.
And I think, as representative of the downtown district and business environment in general downtown, have proven if it's not successful, it's generally won't be done.
Right.
So, again, kudos.
Yeah.
This activity will breed additional activity, help to reinforce, I think, in my opinion, Oconomowoc before the pandemic hit was an event-driven destination.
Absolutely.
And I think the events that have occurred thus far, in the light of the challenges, have operated extremely well, thoughtful, and in the community's best interest. And I know this will be the same, and that will breed additional events and continue to put us into a position that we want to see our community and our business. So,
yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for your support.
Sarah, thanks for looking at this. I talked to Travis Tusky briefly before it went on the agenda. I think it's a great idea. I'm all for it. I think anything we can do to help downtown businesses or really any business to thrive at this time is huge. Hey, Sarah, just so you know, we have had other public-private partnerships like German Christmas Market, Festival in the Park. There's public-private stuff going on, and I think that's really good for the community.
Yeah.
But Sarah, just so you know, when German Christmas Market came in, all the aldermen would get.
Wait a minute. Time out. That's reserved for the city attorney.
Listen, I know my place. I know my place. I know who I suck up to. So come find me, everybody. I do want to say I appreciate the time. And I know that I'm new to the position and new to some of the hoops. So I want to thank the clerk's office for working with me. The manner and the timely that I executed this was a little short. So I do learn from my mistakes, and I will get this to everybody a little sooner than later next time. So I'm your gal. Yeah.
I think this is going to be successful for our community. Whether it's our festival on Square in Madison, Ray Street Festival, Steel Days, or whatnot, I think it'd be a good recommendation for our businesses and this tough.
You're welcome.
Alderman Shellpepper. I was just wondering what prompted the idea to come up now, and you think it's because of trying to have more opportunities outside for business as opposed to indoors, or I mean, why do you think we just decided to do this?
I think because we've added this leadership role of director into the mix. It was an all volunteer organization, and we've now switched over to a director paid position, and we just were able to put a little more continuity and add a little bit more things. Came to me a couple months ago at about 3:30 in the morning. So that's how it kind of was born. Nobody really said it. The third ward does it. I found it successful. But yes, it does bring people outside. So the people that don't feel safe coming inside yet, that like the outside, it does give a little bit more. It uses the village green, moves people around town. It was just another added feature.
other bars or restaurants that don't have this opportunity?
To the best of our knowledge that we know, it's only the bars that are going to border, because it's an extension of the permit of their liquor license. So it's only the people that border the Village Green. Currently, if that's where we're going to hold it. So it does only give the opportunity to 2 right now. Yeah, if we can work something out different as we talk with the clerk or things that.
Yeah, so you're going to be asking, I'm trying to wrap my head around, so in the future though, like for future type of events, are we going to be asking other bars, or is there only 2 bars on the Village Green? Is it just Lakers and?
Yeah, it's just Lakers and AJ's, yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I guess there's a whole big selection.
Yeah,
Okay.
and it's, and
I
they're,
make sure it's
yeah,
fair all the way around.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah, yeah. And, you know, fair is a relative word, right? So, you know, everybody kind of gets the moving around downtown and, you know, Splash is going to be busy despite that, you know, we've got apple pucker shots coming down a luge. People are going to want to go into all of them, so. But if we feel that, you know, on the back end, we hear something different, we'll definitely take a look at it. Yeah, I'll get a free luge shot. Yeah.
I know how you asked, and I think I'll ask. How do you plan to handle social distancing capacity?
Sure. So in the tent is a warming tent. It's meant to move kind of, you know, fluid and through as people are comfortable. It's not going to be completely sealed up. One side will be open. It looks like the bags tournament that we've kind of launched is not going to happen. We just didn't get enough sign up. I think people right now are waiting to the very end between weather and just the times right now. People wait till the very end. That's one thing that we can't wait on. So I think there'll be some live music in there and people will come and go. It's not really going to be a seated place. It's why we chose not to have the nonprofit chili tent this year. It is not. It is not. And it's not serving anything in there. So it's just meant to be warming. We will have a fire pit also. And Family Skate has a bunch of fun characters if we get the pond dusted off. So yeah, very fun event.
I'd like to entertain a motion, please. So moved.
Second, Ellis, second.
So motion made by Alderman Kavieski, second by Alderman Ellis. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spielberg.
Aye.
On to the next agenda item, which is tied into it, so I would just like to entertain a motion for.
Excuse me, Mayor. It's fine. That item is only on there if the first item didn't pass, then they would still want to be able to provide beer. Don't go with, so.
But I need a motion to remove that from the agenda, or can we just move on?
Move on.
Okay, we're going to move on, so agenda item C is removed. Next, consider act on future common council meeting format. Mr. Trepetowski.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor and, excuse me, Alderman, as you recall back in the second meeting in November of 2020, the council looked at kind of the venue that they wanted to continue holding meetings in, whether it be in person or virtual, and ultimately what it was decided that would be some kind of hybrid mix where it would be in person as it is currently, with the option for the WebEx program on there as well for people to attend. So obviously open that up to discussion. I would just say from the staff and I's perspective, we would suggest really just going back to all in person with the protective measures that we've kind of increased in the chambers here. Also, you know, it really, unfortunately, using the WebEx program prevents us from using YouTube Live, which also includes the closed captioning with the live element to that. And it just offers a better quality than what we can unfortunately do with WebEx, which is a program that really wasn't developed to have that kind of dual quality. It's really meant for all. So that would be our suggestion, and certainly give it to the council to make that decision.
Alderman Shellpepper. So I think we have responded to the circumstances that we had at the time. We haven't been doing so well on recording. The YouTube function, not streaming on YouTube, is really hurting. People can't hear us. And so the solution we're trying to provide is actually making circumstances worse. So my concern though is the whole reason we went hybrid to begin with was in case a council member was
had inadvertent exposure or whatever, and they still needed to attend. So how are we going to address that? Because that's still the issue that I'm wondering. Because as I remember from the city attorney, if we offer, a remote option to one person, we need to do it to everybody. And so what's the solution that we have to make sure that aldermen who can't attend physically because of a possible exposure to COVID can still do so?
Alderman Zappler.
Thank you, Mayor and Alderman Schultz, for bringing that up. I actually just got out of quarantine another time. I wasn't here the last time this was in discussion. I understand and know it's a frustration. But if we could have a hybrid option, I personally would be in favor of that, just because I don't know if I'm going to get put back in that rabbit hole again, or if anyone else here is. And I just want to be able to be a voice and advocate on behalf of my constituents. It's 10 to 14 days, chief. So if there's 2 council meetings, say you're exposed on, that Tuesday, if you test positive or you have to go to quarantine and then possibly can be just 2 council meetings, I don't feel comfortable on that. That's just my 2 cents.
Alderman Spiegelberg.
Matt, Chief. So if we act on this in any shape or form today, then that would be effective as of the next meeting?
Correct.
Okay. If we decide to go back to all in person again, and you said these, boundaries would still be out there, how long, this is a crystal ball question probably, but how long are we thinking we're going to have to stay in this type of format with all of these barriers up?
Well, it's a good question. I guess it'd be difficult for me to answer that. I think it is.
Okay, and at what point do we make that decision? At what point do we make that decision?
And that's I think what we want to look. That's what we need to consider here tonight as well. If we whatever route that we go, and I don't know exactly how to answer that. I think. All I know is the council decided to do the hybrid model, at least through January or through this meeting. So that's why we're bringing it back up to make a decision forward. But, I guess I don't have any metrics or way of saying this is exactly like kind of a starting and stopping point. I think if the decision were made, I think it would be good to at least go another 2 or 3 months before we look at it again. I'm assuming that things are going to continue on. At least for that long as vaccinations are being rolled out to different segments of the population.
I'm sorry, so if the decision is made to go back to our original format and keep these out, you're saying?
I think we would want to do that unless circumstances change that we feel comfortable removing the barriers that have been.
Okay, a quick question to help clarify for me. I know that you've said this hybrid format is messy, is a word that you've used. But if we do want to have an alderman who can't be here involved, then we do have to open it up to anyone from the public as well, if it's one involved. Alderman Schultz was saying, is that right, Mr. Ripple?
Can you get it again, please?
If we are sensitive to the fact that we want to have an alderman be able to be here even virtually, if they can't be here because of an exposure or a case.
Yes.
Do we have to then have it open for anyone else in the public, or can we limit it to the alderman?
Everyone in the world.
Okay.
And the alderman.
Alderman Kavinsky.
So I want to take a step back in regards to this because, Attorney Ripple, this may involve a question for you. When this came forward, it was my understanding that the recommendation or whatever we ended up doing wouldn't necessarily need an ordinance revision or our approval unless it was not held here, because our ordinance says city council meetings are held at City Hall. So we gave Mayor Magnus the operational latitude to move out of this facility to another facility to allow for social distancing or whatever would be required for a level of comfort of health and operation, because the mayor is in charge of operation.
So we gave you the latitude for that. Legally, I don't think it requires council approval to have a virtual aspect to an in-person meeting. Is that true? It's an operational issue. As long as we're holding city council here at City Hall, it can be broadcast or engaged with in a variety of ways.
Alderman, I don't really understand the question because we're holding our meetings here.
Right.
From a public notice perspective, if you didn't want to hold them here, you'd have to give, notice under Chapter 19 of where you're going to hold your meeting. And if you want to hold it here, you want to hold it, at the cop shop or wherever, you just have to give public notice of that. And if you want to do it virtually or semi-virtually, you would have to give public notice of that. So I don't really, I'm sorry, I don't understand the context.
The context is, I don't think there'd be action required by council to provide a hybrid style.
I think your administrator's asking you how the heck you want to hold these meetings.
I know, I understand that, but
right?
The continuation.
He just wants input.
Right. The continuation or action by this council is in why it came back, or the impact of the ordinance is, do we want to continue on the path to give the mayor the ability to hold council session outside of City Hall, if so needed? And that's what I believe we gave, and I would support that if that would help operationally. I think operationally, if the mayor decides to continue to have the barricades up to help provide a level of safety for those who attend, I don't think you need council's approval for that. It's an operational thing, and I appreciate the fact that it's here. Whenever you decide to take it down, I wouldn't think we'd come to council and said it's coming down. It all came up, and it came up well under your direction without council input, which is fine. Again, it's under your purview. I just want to make sure that I'm clear in understanding what is being asked for, and I'd be fine continuing the protocol for whatever you feel is appropriate based on the health of those who are participating in the in-person meeting, whatever, somebody's in quarantine or whatnot, until May or June.
I think the city administrator is looking for guidance, but I'm going to come in a couple of hands up. Alderman Shelton first.
So you want to know how I want to hold the meetings? I want to have it on YouTube streamed again, because people who are actually wanting to listen remotely can't do it right now. So it's not working, the WebEx. So we need to get rid of the WebEx. But nobody has once called in. Never once have we had someone call in on the WebEx. So it's a waste of time. The people actually want to hear what's happening can't do it because they can't watch it on YouTube. And we're not posting the recordings of these sessions on YouTube. So someone who can't attend or watch tonight can't do it tomorrow. The stuff's not getting posted as immediately as it was before when it was going on YouTube. So we need to go back to YouTube. That's what I'd like to see. But I'd like to have there to be an option for somebody who, who has to quarantine, an alderman who has to quarantine can still call in and participate in the meeting without having to physically be here in City Hall. So that's what I want to see. And I don't know if that's the kind of direction you're looking for, but that's what I think we need to have, because it's offering the correct engagement for community members so they can see what's happening and participate in what's going on, but also allow people who are on this council to participate if they're in quarantine.
Next up is Alderman Rozak.
Yeah, well said, Chaz. I agree with you. I think I've had about a handful of people comment that they can't hear, they're not sending the little wave or whatever on WebEx. It's just really tough to hear. And it's tough to see the next day. Our viewership isn't usually really high the day of, but sometimes days later. After articles go in the paper about what happened, people go back and watch. They're just struggling to do that. So my direction to the city staff would be do the in-person, go to complete in-person, back to the YouTube, so people can watch. I understand what John's saying over here, that he still wants to be involved. But frankly, once in a while, people have to miss a meeting. I might not be here the next meeting because I've worked calling out of state. And if I was sick or I had to get called away, I mean, that happens. I think our constituents understand that this isn't our full-time job. Every once in a while, you may have a meeting. So with that being said, that's my suggestion is I agree with Matt. Kravitowski and the staff is the easiest route to go. It's really the way we've been doing it, except for the WebEx stuff.
Alderman Mulder.
Yeah, I would agree with both of you. Would there be an option to, if we did have and hold it out for extended period, one meeting and kind of agree that, this and sometimes it becomes more, then that would be an option to then maybe bring the WebEx back for a meeting or two. I know that's, again, for one or two things. Extenuating circumstances could be done. Alderman Ellis.
Okay, one of my biggest concerns was the closed caption. Reason being is because there is a population of individuals that want to get involved but cannot get involved. The WebEx does not give that ability to happen, whereas YouTube does. I'm thinking that at this point, if we cannot get closed caption, or if we cannot really incorporate as much as possible so that the whole population can at least have the ability to participate in our meetings, I can't be for it. It's something that at the end of the day is really important to me, very important. I have some individuals that I communicate with on a daily basis that are hearing impaired. And I can't tell them to, okay, look for us on WebEx and we want your opinion, because they're not going to be able to understand it. So it's so very important. And there's been a couple of times I've been watching television programs on YouTube, and if it weren't for the fact that the closed caption was on the bottom, I don't know if I'd be able to understand what they were saying. So it's so important on so many levels that is there. So I'm going to leave that there. That's how important I think this really is, because even those that can hear sometimes rely on what they see.
Alderman Kravitowski.
Operationally, I think you can't do, correct me if I'm wrong, you can't do WebEx and YouTube simultaneously, right? Either or. So what you're looking for is direction: do we keep WebEx or do we go to YouTube as our option for virtual engagement, or just the ability to view and record?
Yeah. And I think we've got a lot of good feedback. Matt Kravitowski and I'll go through this, and maybe Matt, how about if we make that decision and put it in Friday's update to the Alderman every Friday, and you guys will have that decision. Great discussion. Alderman Ellis.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I just wanted to thank you for your sensitivity. I appreciate coming to council and saying, hey guys, because it is an operational thing, and at the end of the day, you have to do what you can do. And I respect that. Absolutely respect the fact that you brought it in and said, what do you think? So thank you.
Point of order, we have to consider act on future common council meetings, so yes, I think we probably should pull out the agenda. So what I would recommend is Rosek motion to go back to in-person meetings, eliminating the WebEx and going back to the YouTube live stream.
Second.
Any further discussion? Thank you, Matt, for bringing that up. I missed it. Any further discussion? Call roll, please.
Alderman Mulder.
Aye.
Alderman Shellpepper.
Aye.
Alderman Kavieski.
Aye.
Alderman Rozak.
Aye.
Alderman Zappel.
Aye.
Alderman Ellis.
Aye.
Alderman Spiegelman.
Aye.
Great. Moving on to staff reports. Chief Bowen, COVID vaccine update, please, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First, I just want to start off by thanking Chief Pfister and Mark Fry. What we've done over the last 2 weeks wouldn't have been possible without both of them literally giving us the personnel and the assistance. So I just wanted to go on the record and thank both of them, as well as Mr. Trepetowski and Mayor that support to get the ball rolling. So just an update on COVID first, and then an update on where we're at and where we're heading. There's a ton of questions. I will not have all the answers because we're still waiting for answers from the powers above us, but I'll fill you in on where we're at and what we're doing today. First, right now, for the last about 6 weeks, the COVID numbers have been trending downward throughout the state of Wisconsin. Our hospitals have caught a little bit of a break. EMS has also caught a little bit of a break. However, nationwide, the numbers on the West Coast are beginning to trend upward. Our doctors were on a conference call for EMS physicians and what's occurring out on the West Coast and down south. We really hope that we can get the vaccine out and also continue. Ms. Spiegelberg, you brought up the barriers and all that. Just because the vaccine is going to be out, we really can't take away the social distancing, the masks, and the barriers until we've got at least 70% of the population that has either built up antibodies or gotten the vaccine. That's going to take a while. Sorry I didn't bring out an entire presentation. We've been a little busy. So we're watching the numbers locally as well as nationwide. However, on the flip side, when people get infected with COVID, they've been spending weeks in the hospitals and the intensive care units. So when we hit our peak back the end of November, beginning of December, unfortunately, the two largest fatality days in the state of Wisconsin was December 21st and January 16th. Both of those days, over 120, 170 Wisconsin residents unfortunately passed away due to COVID. So it is still very real. It's happening. The medical professionals are still out there dealing with that. So that's kind of where we're at with COVID. We continue our EOC meetings on a weekly basis to keep our municipalities informed in that spirit of cooperation. Since the middle of November, under the direction of Dr. Mark Schultz, who's our associate medical director, you've all met Dr. Katie, who's our primary medical director, we worked together to submit a plan to the state of Wisconsin for the 18 fire departments to open up kind of a healthcare system with one main hub. It was supposed to be the city of Waukesha, and we all applied to be clinics underneath them. We submitted that the middle of November to be a healthcare system to receive the vaccine and begin administering it to that 1A and the 1B essential workers to help relieve some of the pressure that is on public health and other healthcare systems. We don't have the personnel, the facilities, the equipment to vaccinate the general public at mass clinics. But if we could take 10,000 residents out of the mix in the county, that will give them the capacity for another 10,000 to help the general public. So that was our whole intention. Fast forward here to just 2 weeks ago, we received notice that with the Western Lakes Fire District's application was approved. Unfortunately, none of the other departments in the county were approved. So we quick jumped on a phone call. We had less than 24 hours to place that order for the vaccine. We placed that order, and we're serving as the hub for Waukesha as well as Jefferson County to disseminate the vaccines to the fire departments that are opening up clinics or the public health departments. We've been very engaged. It's been some very long days partnering with the two public health departments and emergency management. And it's amazing the amount of support that we've got to get this vaccine out. So last week, Monday, we received the first shipment, which was 975 vaccines. I'm happy to say that today we closed our third clinic and all 975 vaccines have been given. So that 1 week turnaround, because today we just received the second shipment for over 1,000 vaccines. So we've been able to get them out, keep up with capacity. The Lake Country Fire Department opened up a clinic last week so we could do some trial and error. They had another clinic this week. And next week, the city of Waukesha and Pewaukee will be opening up clinics. Our whole intention, like I said before, is to help get that backlog of the 1A. We know full well, and it pulls on my purse strings, that there's people that are approved that can't get the vaccine, that don't know where to go yet. And that's something that we're all trying to work through together and manage that need for the vaccine. So we literally, every single clinic and every single spot has been filled with dentists, hygienists, school nurses, nurses that have their own practices, physicians that have their own practices, our law enforcement partners, fire and EMS. That's who we've been working with. Waukesha County Emergency Management has been kind of being the gatekeeper for the entire county. And when they know we've got vaccines available, they will send a link, because we need appointments so we can track, because we pull these vaccines out of the ultra cold freezer. The vaccines are kept at negative 170 degrees. We pull just the amount out that we need. Sometimes at the end of the day, because with Pfizer is the vaccine that we're getting, we do get that 6th dose out of them. We can't plan for those. And that's where the best practice and the recommendation from the state is get it in an eligible arm that you know you have right there immediately. So sometimes when we have that, or the healthcare systems, that is what happens. But all of our clinics are locked down to that 1A and then the 1B plus with law enforcement and firefighters. So that's, I'll pause there. That's kind of where we're at. And, we just again today placed the order for next week's shipment.
And I'd like to just say from my perspective, I would say from the city's perspective, probably the only time I can think that our whole council would agree 100% in saying thank you. Your leadership and what you've done, and working with our police department, with our staff, with our surrounding communities are admirable. And we really appreciate that. And you know that if you need more city resources, we will be there. So thank you very much, Chief.
Thank you, Mayor.
Alderman Shelpepper.
Yeah, thanks, Chief. And it's pretty incredible that, so we were the only one out of all the fire departments in Waukesha County who applied to get approved. Do you have any idea why that was?
So when I talked to the Department of Health Services, and I know Alderman Zapp will also talk to some people, we were on the phone, checking in on our applications, all of us. When I talked to them 2 weeks ago, they had over 2,000 applications that came in on that deadline in mid-November. So they had to review everybody's plans. And really what happened in that spirit of cooperation and to help them get these vaccines out, we all agreed as fire chiefs here, it doesn't matter whose patch it is, it matters that we can get the vaccine. So rather than them taking the time to approve the other 17, let's just work together. We have Dr. Schultz's blessing. You come to our clinics. We've got firefighters and paramedics from City of Waukesha, New Berlin, Vernon, Menominee Falls, helping us so that we don't have to carry that entire burden. The county executive came out today to evaluate the clinic. He brought his public health department management team because we want to work together. And there might be some EMS providers that give vaccines every day or give medications through injection that are part-time, and they might have additional time in the near future that they could help public health. They could work at a public health clinic. So that's really what we agreed on with public health was don't even worry about the rest because we can take care of this now.
What I'm understanding is you're giving out 1A and 1B right now, but so it was just guidance that was approved in the state of Wisconsin that 65 plus 31 day. So all the people in our city that are 65 plus, and what's your advice to them? How can they get the vaccine? What do they need to do? Is Western Lakes Fire District going to be giving out the vaccine? Are they going to have Pro Health, Aurora? I mean, those are the people we should, in addition to the 1A and 1B, but the 65 plus, we need to, how do we help them as soon as possible?
So that was my caveat, and unfortunately I don't have all the answers, and even talking to the county executive and the county administrator of Jefferson County, nobody knew that this was being approved for Monday. We're still working on the backlog of the 1A and 1B. Public health is working on finding space to have these mass clinics, vacant stores, partnerships, the healthcare systems working with Ascension, Aurora, Pro Healthcare, Freighter. Right now, the best advice that we've been given from the state as well as our public health and emergency management is for folks to contact their primary care physician. I know that not all of them have them, but right now we are not at a capacity. We're putting through in a day, and I can tell you it's a long day. It's a 5-hour day for our team, and it's 150 vaccines, and it's interacting and assessing every single person because we don't want to vaccinate the wrong person because they have a medical condition that they shouldn't have it. So it's a very thorough process. we don't have the capacity nor the budget. Right now, out of the spirit of cooperation, because our healthcare workers that are unable to get it, make a difference, our public safety partners had no means, we're filling that gap. Executive Farrell has said that if there isn't a grant available, he's committed to helping get that reimbursement. But that goes back to the four owner municipalities of how far do we run with the Western Lakes budget? You know, we're still going on probably, unfortunately, going to be a record year again in 2021 for call volume. Our call volume's up about 30%. So our staff have stepped up for about a 6-week period to help while still handling our fire EMS and other administrative tasks. I can tell you that we're giving our plans and we're working with public health and emergency management at a county level. Jefferson County next week will be pulling from our stock because that's how we're working together, is to get another 600 out there. So everybody's working, but we all heard about the 65 and up at the same time as the general public. So I can tell you that Executive Farrell, Mr. Weimer over at Jefferson County, all of us had no idea that announcement was occurring. And even at Western Lakes Fire Station today, I bet you we've had 150 phone calls of people 65 and up wanting to come. And I wish there was more I could give, but unfortunately, everybody's working on getting those answers out.
It's really challenging. I've been watching from a distance and I'll get updates and I'll have phone conversations, and Matt's been very engaged as well. And every day is different. And that's the biggest challenge because the planning process wasn't put in place. And so, Chief, thank you so much because it's, I want to say you're flying by the seat of your pants, but you're adjusting admirably and you're doing it through a really incredible collaborative and teamwork approach, which is great. Alderman Kavieski.
So the vaccines that you're supplying right now for 1A, 1B plus is in the public sector, the first responders. That's what we take care of, not necessarily in the general public. Point where the general public inclusive in that 1A, 1B.
If they are part of the 1A, and that we luckily have the support of Waukesha County Emergency Management, we have done a number of dentists and hygienists right here in our communities that we serve. They're in the 1A eligible, they're working people's mouths, high risk, and they were approved, and they had nowhere to go. Right now, the backlog in Waukesha County, we anticipate on the 1A group to at least be 2,000 to 3,000. And we got through 1,000 of them. Hopefully next week we get through the next 1,000 and the next week. And that's where that spirit of cooperation and partnership with our partners is really coming into play.
Well, thank you, Chief. I think we all have a lot of appreciation. I appreciate you giving us an update.
Yep.
And hope to get another one with some more brighter news.
Yes.
But we're making progress, and it's from your leadership. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Great. Let's move on to the Rosenau Creek Trail Project. This is the final report. Mr. Hefner.
Good evening. I was going to load me some photos. I felt it was important to give you a kind of, I'll call it a final report on the Rosenau Creek project. It was something that was started before I came on, and but the construction of it actually started about when I started. So it's been a great journey. I do want to he's been thanked a lot tonight, but I'll give one more kudos, shout out to Mark Fry. Mark helped the transition between myself and our predecessor, but also Brian Spencer, who's our Parks and Forestry Superintendent, put a lot of time into this project. So the City Council approved this back in May of 2019. And if you look up on the screen or on your screens, this is a pretty cool little drone video or photo of the project. I'll try and show you a few spots. So up on top is Highway Z, and at the very bottom is Lisbon Road. And we're mostly on the northern part of this. So Wood Creek Park is one of our parks right here. And this is Mockingbird Court, so part of the Pine Ridge Estates. So this trail connects from our park to this trail, which is an actual part of the Pine Ridge Estates. And then it goes across Rosenau Creek here and winds through and ends up at Prairie Creek Boulevard. And I'll show you a few pictures later on. So the main part of the project was the half-mile asphalt pathway. We do have a boardwalk right here, which is about 70 feet long. which goes through over some wetlands. And then probably the most important piece is the crossing of Rosenau Creek, which could not happen before. And this is able to get the folks from this subdivision across to here, and then Brown Street and Piggly Wiggly and Quick Trip are all on this side. So it's an important piece. We also worked in cooperation with Waukesha County. They did what was called a wetland scrape environmental project. And so there's some ponds here. There's the northern one in the middle, and then on the southern end. And really it's part of wetland control, better species habitat for birds, animals. It also stops some of the runoff before it gets to the creek. So it's something they put together, which helped us substantially on the financial end. If you recall back in 2019, we certainly had a lot of rain in the fall. We were hoping to be done last year or in 2019, but that didn't happen. I'll show you a picture of that as well. But as it turned out, I think it really helped our construction. The boardwalk was able to be done in the winter. We had a much drier season in 2020, and I think our product overall turned out much better. As I mentioned, the Waukesha County's wetland scrape project, they saved us some money because of using their silt fence and their restoration and seeding, so we thank them for that. We did some in-house things, so we reduced some of our, I'll call it site prep for amenities, which saved some cost. And then the most important one was right above this bend, there was a second boardwalk that was supposed to go in, and it really wasn't wetland. And if you go out there, you'll see that. So thanks to our Rooker Milky, Clark Dietz, DNR, we all worked together to eliminate that and make it a regular trail. And that saves substantial dollars. So the project itself is complete. The only thing we need to do internally yet is there's some funds for, I'll call site amenities again. So benches, signage, and some tree planting, which will happen this year in 2021. I think I've heard great comments from people I've met out there, talked, just the connections, the use, whether it's recreational or actually getting people back and forth to businesses. And I think it's a good model, an example of what we can do in the future. We don't have to buy new parkland. We had land, we use an easement cooperation, and we've connected now people. I really think it's a great safe thing for people. It provides access between parks, homes, and businesses. So hopefully that's something we can continue as we work on our bike and ped plan and other things. I do want to talk financially because I think it's important. I'm sure you'll be happy to hear the news. Thanks to, again, the things I mentioned, our original contract with the contractor, which was Blaze Landscape, was around $382,000. The final number was $275,000. So it's $106,000 savings on our contract. So cooperation between the contractor, the city, and others. We also had inspection services through Clark Dietz, which is great to work with as well. Their original contract was about $44,000, and we spent $40,000. So we saved another $4,000 there. And we do have $32,000 left we're going to use for site amenities. We won't use all of that either, so we'll see a little bit more savings. Matt, for the bad news is this is actually from park fees, park impact fees. So I didn't really save Mark $100,000 as much as it sounded really good, but we will use it for something else, which I think is important. I just want to make sure we got that for you. If I can just go show you a couple quick pictures. So it was really a river back in the fall of 2019. They had excavated and started doing some stonework and filled up with rain after rain after rain. Here's some of the gentlemen putting in the boardwalk, which almost looks like a bridge here, but working in the winter is much better in a wetland. Here's the final boardwalk picture. This is what the crossing of Rosenau Creek looked like before we started. So our crew had done some forestry work in buckthorn clearing there. And this is what it looked like. It's obviously restored now, but having that connection again across the creek is really important. This is actually a view coming down the hill from Mockingbird Court. We did another culvert here. We've had a lot of water issues and freezing during the March thaws. Here's the boardwalk in the kind of in the background. So this connects from that neighborhood through. And this is looking basically north back up towards Highway Z. And then this is where it comes out on the east end at Prairie Creek Boulevard and connects back to their sidewalk. And so my last point is I welcome you to the Rosedale Creek Trail project. We're excited about it. Again, thanks to all the partners, and I think it was a very good success, and happy to answer any kind of questions you may have.
Thanks so much, Craig. I know that we made some decisions before you were here and started going down the path of this project. But it looks great. It was originally a very comprehensive plan, and we were able to take some of the aspects of it out and bring it back to what it is here. And I think it's fabulous. I think it looks really good. So thank you for taking on John's project and seeing it to fruition. And then my question is on the impact fees that we saved. What's the time limit now on those additional impact fees as far as how much time we have to use those?
Well, they're probably already spent, right, Lori? As you know, we're in the red in impact fees, so there's no worry as far as spending those. It basically doesn't get put towards the fees, so there won't be an issue as far as the 7-year limit. Good question.
So just really great job on this as well. Our district and I've been incorporate this path into dog walking now, so I really appreciate that. I think it does a really good job of connecting what's a really new part of the community out there, yet kind of preserving a really rural feel as you're on that path. You don't feel like you're in part of the new development of town. And I think as all of those new houses go in, this connection then over to the new regional park. Really well done. Good planning by council as well. Alderman Kavieski.
Can you go back to the overview image?
Yes, Ivan's going to get you hooked up here. I'll lay off the mouse. Do I have a faster way to get up there? I can't see because there's stuff on the screen. I'll do this one. Sorry about that. This is high tech.
I like your view. It's a fantastic project. Beneficial not only for the residents in that area of our city, but the city as a whole, and those who come in from outside of our city to enjoy our rural environment. Part of what was revived or changed up, because that path was going to come out and dump on to Lisbon.
Correct.
There's going to be a mode trail that's going to be maintained as a natural trail there.
We don't have plans as a mode trail here. I know the concern, I believe, originally was going on to Lisbon Road, which is really not as safe. It's a 2-lane, no shoulder road. So it's not mode, but you can walk back here if you like.
Yeah, I think that was kind of a nice feature. It was going to be kind of a down and back up. And there was a discussion about keeping that a mode path as opposed to a paved path. A little bit different feel to it. So I would see that. Yeah. And then Rosedale Creek as a whole, we have the north branch and then the south branch. It's a class A truck stream, I believe, on the north end. There's been some work on that north end as well. You mentioned there's buckthorn that you cleaned up. There's probably a couple more buckthorn that could be cleaned up to enjoy that creek. It's a critical feature for that area. So, again, that money's probably been spent, but as we continue to look at that area, cleaning up the creek itself, and making that a feature, great. But thank you so much for all the hard work and making that a reality.
Well, Alderman Rozak.
I think, there's that path, just for historical quick. We were going to continue to go to Lisbon, and then the debate was we didn't want to dump people out of Lisbon because it was unsafe. But now with the scrape project that the DNR did there, I don't know where that path would have ended up going. So I think in hindsight, the council at the time, I think only a few of us were there at the time, made a good decision not to spend an extra $400,000 or whatever it was to do that part, because I'm seeing these big ponds here now that I don't know if it would have been possible. So great. I love the connectivity. So it's a good project for the city. Well, we're $800,000 in the hole still, I think.
Well, so we were 900, so.
Well, thank you very much for the update. That's wonderful. Let's move on to our next update. Build a Park at 517 project update, which would be Chris and Frank both, and also with Craig Hefner. Chris.
Hi, thank you for inviting us here tonight to give you the update. The goal of the Build a Park team began in August, which was just 5 months ago. We hope to bring the community together to raise $1,350,000 to purchase 517 North Lake Road, donated to the city of Oconomowoc. We're here to report that that goal has been reached. This was a community effort. Well, and this was a community effort. We had over 900 separate donations. The Hero family has named the park the John and Lavinia Rockwell Park in honor of the Rockwell family who owned the property at one time and were instrumental in starting this community. This project started August 11th with the first meeting of a few people in the neighborhood who were not daunted by the prospect of raising so much money in such a short time. We started by designing a logo, signs, brochures. New members were attracted to join, and a website and Facebook pages were created, and a GoFundMe account was developed. A process for sending receipts, thank you letters, tracking donors was set up. Community organizations and businesses were contacted. We've been at the farmers market every week. 300 signs were distributed. Thousands of brochures were sent out, and many, many letters and emails. High school students pitched in with the farmers market and distributing brochures. Businesses donated with portions of their proceeds. A pet parade at Halloween attracted 47 entries and helped create awareness. Local artists began to donate their prints, cards, wood carvings, and handmade items to be used to thank donors. By the end of October, over $500,000 was raised with only 8 weeks of solicitation. Newspapers looking for positive news during a pandemic regularly ran stories on our progress, and there were letters to the editors from the team. 3 donors issued challenges to the community, and by December 1st, we announced that we had raised over $1 million. At this time, the website has had over 6,000 unique hits. The Facebook page has nearly 1,000 followers, and Instagram has 245 followers. The community has followed our progress closely. We have received so many positive comments with the donations, and we just wanted to share a few. The first one is, we are fortunate to have the opportunity to convert a private property to a public use as a park for the enjoyment of exquisite beauty that can only be found in nature. Another comment, to create a park on 2 Oconomowoc lakefronts is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Located in the heart of our city, this park will be a treasure for us and generations to come. The pleasure and joy of its existence will be our immediate reward, and gratitude for our foresightedness will be our legacy. Another comment, we are delighted for the opportunity to contribute to this worthy fundraiser. Preserving and creating public use land will greatly enhance the beautiful downtown of Oconomowoc. We thank the Hero family for their generous donation. This tremendous generosity inspires us, but the beauty of the Build a Park community fundraiser is that any donation of any size can help create a long-lasting public use park that can be enjoyed for generations to come. And lastly, last week we received 3 donations for $5.17 each. And we looked at that and thought, wow, what is that about? And then we looked inside, it came with a note from their dad that the funds were from the piggy banks of 3 siblings, each donating $5.17. And their picture will be in the paper this week. So Since we've raised more than the cost of the property, we are contacting the donors to ask them if they would like their donation to be used for the development of the park. If not, their donation will be returned. This notice has been put on the website and social media, and we're already getting offers for in-kind donations and labor, and we are forwarding that information on to Craig Hefner. A community input team is now working on getting ideas on how the community envisions using the park. Comments can be made on the Build the Park at 517 website or our Facebook page. Craig Hefner is organizing a virtual city meeting for community comments, and this meeting will be held in the council chambers on January 26 at 6 p.m. This input will be given to the park design team. Fundraising will continue for the purpose of developing the park. Funds received in excess of the purchase price will be used to help build the park. A not-for-profit organization, Friends of the Oconomowoc Parks and Trails Incorporated, is being created to support this project and other park and trail projects in the future. This organization plans to begin taking donations very soon, and details about the Friends of Oconomowoc Parks and Trails will be available soon. We have been so proud to be part of such a creative and hardworking team and a community that made such an outstanding effort to create this park. They have all been so passionate about making this park happen. We cannot thank the donors and the volunteers enough for the efforts they have made to make this park a reality. Thank you.
I'd like the group to understand too, this couple, Frank and Chris, who've been here forever, they put their lives on hold to do this. I'd really like if we could give them a round of applause, because without their leadership, this never would have happened.
I'd just like to say thank you. It was great working with you on a few aspects of fundraising. This project really reinforces how special this community is. I'm sure got to meet people that you haven't met before. The hearts of the community are large, giving, and thank you for your leadership, your time, commitment, your passion for making it a reality.
Thank you. I wanted to thank you as well. I mean, having a project like this always needs a leader, so I appreciate your leadership on this. Appreciate the mayor's leadership on it as well. You know, I played no part in this, but I'm very proud of being on the council that kind of was able to nudge this forward. I mean, this is a legacy I feel like we all will be able to contribute to the community, and you know, something I can look back on and definitely feel like I was a part of public service, and I think you all can feel that way as well. And so I, you know, who would have imagined a few years ago, you know, that this would have been the end state. So I'm really pumped about it. I'm really excited. There's a lot of hard work ahead. We've got a lot of things to figure out now. I mean, I don't know if raising the money, maybe that'll have been one of the least controversial parts. So now we're all going to have to put in our opinions, but I'm looking forward to doing that, because the main goal is accomplished. With your leadership, we were able to carve out a park for the community. So thank you very much, and you know, really happy for Oconomowoc. This is a great thing. Alderman Ellis.
And I too want to thank you. I would walk by there thinking to myself, can they make this happen? Can they make this happen? Lord, make this happen. And you were able to raise the funds. And thank you just for your time, your leadership, your focus. You're not giving up. And I know there were probably some days in there where you wanted to. Thank you for all that you've done.
Thank you.
You know, thank the community. Like I said, we had met so many more people in the city here. And during this past year, between pandemic and protest and elections, to have a positive note, we had such great rapport with everybody, even down to the kids. $5.17 We couldn't have scripted that. It just showed up and we were just $5. We understood the $5.17, but we didn't know where it was coming from. So that was great. It was just a great effort. The whole city chipping in and contributing, because it wasn't easy. It wasn't just reaching into your wallet and pulling out a bill. They had to get on the website. They had to download a donation form. They had to fill it in, put a check in there, put it in another envelope, either deliver it to the city or put it in a mailbox. So it wasn't something that they did in, one spontaneous moment. They really had to think about it. And the whole time this was going on, we didn't talk to them. We couldn't have a party. We couldn't have a picnic. We couldn't have a get together. We did this all just without talking to them. And even our first meetings were first in our backyard. Then we ran into weather. We were in the Fowler Lake Pavilion. And after it got too cold, we went into the new city building. And after that, with COVID, it just got too difficult. So we did everything just by Zoom. So it was a really unique effort to get this all done. It wasn't just one step. It was very many steps involved.
It was really a lot of work on the part of the team who never lost their enthusiasm or questioned whether we were going to make this goal or not. I think we even asked, should we take a break over Thanksgiving and skip a meeting? And everybody's, no. So we just can't possibly thank everybody who supported this, not just the people on the team, but all those 900 donors, all of you. It was just a very positive energy, and I think it was bound to happen. It did.
And also a big thank you to Lori Sullivan and the group of the team in finance, because the logistics to do this was very much appreciated and really, really done well, very, very efficiently. So we set up a good program, good process, and you hit your mark. Congratulations, you guys are super.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
I'm sorry, did you want to say something? Oh, okay. And both are still here. They're happy to come back if, please, if they have more questions.
I'm reading Lou's mind. I just want to touch on two things. They mentioned the community input meeting, which will be in 1 week from tonight in the council chambers at 6 o'clock. Also, your favorite use of WebEx we'll be doing as well. Just in case there's folks that want to do it virtually, we will have that set up. So that information will be going out. They've turned the baton over to a design committee, which is very dynamic. And Mark and I have been on 2 Zoom calls with them over the last couple of weeks. So as it transitions to this next stage, we'll be coming forward to the council. I'll say after they've had over 100 recommendations and pieces of feedback come into the website. With our meeting next week, we'll hopefully have a good view of what everybody's looking at in the community. So please join us for those. The design committee will put together some recommendations. We plan to bring that probably the second meeting in February to the council. And so, you'll see the direction of what the design committee is recommending. Hopefully that makes sense to the council. And then we plan to start doing some real design. I don't want to let the cat out of the bag too quickly, but our goal ultimately, I think, is to have this park safe and usable so we all can watch some cool fireworks for Independence Day. So that's kind of our goal. Doesn't mean the park can be done. There's lots of phases, lots of things to do, but that's a goal, I think. You can watch it from their backyard, which would be outstanding, but from the park, even equally outstanding. Lou, what was your question?
So originally the 525 property was park. Now the park is joining and being combined with 517, and the whole thing now is being called something different. Is that?
I'll send it over to Attorney Riffle. He'll clarify that for you.
No, this common council did, when we got the donation for 525, did indicate that they would accept recommendations from the Kiro family as it relates to the naming rights. And the name is coming from
517 and 525?
Well, for 525, you might as well call it the same thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think, obviously, it's got historic significance, and it seems to make sense, and it would honor our commitment to the Harrell family.
I'd like to know. I just wanted to know how that involved, and if there was still a part that.
Yeah, the parcels will be combined eventually, and that would be one park.
Any other questions from Mr. Hebner?
Yeah, I like the idea of this fundraising arm, not only for this park, but for other park projects in the future. It's something that I know me, Lou, Karen, and probably Kevin have been talking about for at least us for the last 4 years or so together, of creating this public.
Only in a public setting, because otherwise it would be violent.
Well, you're right, of course. During only public and open sessions, the four of us have made comments over the years on public and private partnerships. And I'd like to see that moving forward. I'll continue fundraising for this and hopefully future projects. So that's outstanding. And I was happy to hear that. It's awesome. So.
Yeah, and you'll get an update from that group. And actually, Craig is on that board.
I will be a liaison, a non-voting member.
Non-voting board member.
So working behind the scenes, this group's dynamic. They're starting to work, put things together. Their first, project obviously is 517, but this is for all parks and trail projects, and it'll be a great avenue for folks to help out the community. Yes, skate parks, dog parks, splash pads, whatever you want to list. We're still looking for things to do this year.
Any other questions for Mr. Hefner or folks? Again, well done, you guys. Thank you so much.
Congrats. Thank you.
Let's move on to reports and comments from aldermen. Do we have any comments at this time?
Yeah, I want to go ahead and, wow. When I first was elected to this position, my concern was for just not the people of Oconomowoc, but also the small businesses. And I felt as though the past previous polls really didn't care much about the small business. My own opinion. Could be very wrong, but that was my opinion. After what you guys did tonight, wow, thank you. I can't speak for all the small businesses, but I can speak just for myself and my business. You've given Oconomowoc, you've given me hope that you will listen, that you take proper action, and that you want us here. And thank you for that. Also, for the people of Oconomowoc, on so many occasions, when something like a 517 comes up, there's a big roar, there's anger, there's emotion involved, and it kind of peels off, and it goes nowhere. And my concern was that this was going to take the same action. We would see this monstrosity of a building go up, and everybody would just kind of talk amongst themselves. Nobody would take action. Wow. I have a lot of, wow, I'm speechless at this point. Thank you for stepping up. I am so proud of this community, because we did something that is going to last us a lifetime. Thank you.
Any other comments? If no further comments from the mayor, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
He so moves.
For a second. Thanks. Spiegelberg got the second first. All in favor? Aye. Well, have a good evening, everyone, and congratulations to everybody.